UFC 307 just took place last night, just finished up. I'm going to give my reaction to the entire main card, all of the prelims, all of the fights. Timestamps are in the description. But going over the first fight, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree, probably the fight of the year. I would put Izzy DDP over it. That was another fight I really liked. And the similarity between those two fights is for this one, every single exchange, I was like, oh shit. I was so scared that both of them were going to get knocked out because I do like both of these guys. And honestly, I'm sure you guys felt the same way. After that first round, like midway through the second, maybe even in the first, I was like, man, Pereira, he looks a little off, and Khalil, he looks good. Like, I was thinking like, oh my God, Khalil's actually going to do this. Especially after the second, he still looked fresh. He still had a good gas tank. But I don't know. Honestly, in my opinion, this may be a hot take. I think Khalil could have won the fight if it wasn't at elevation. Because yes, Khalil, part of the reason why he gassed out is because he took so much damage. Yes, that obviously is true, right? But Khalil has always had somewhat of a gas tank problem. And a lot of his fights, he gasses out or heavily slows down in the third, which is what happened. Even if it's not a super crazy pace. And especially since that this was his first 5-round fight at elevation, he already was at a massive disadvantage, but he still proved me wrong. His gas tank was actually, even though he did gas out, it was better than I thought. Especially because after the first round, he was taking massive breaths. I was like, oh my God, is he already gassed? But he wasn't. He just was trying to recover. The fight was amazing. I think Pereira did come into this a little bit injured, a little banged up. He said he had a rib injury. He was on antibiotics. He was sick. Khalil, both of these guys didn't have a ton of time to prepare either. Like, I believe this fight was signed with 4 or 5 weeks notice because they couldn't get a main event for this fight. Probably because Ilya versus Max probably couldn't cut weight in time, so they delayed that fight another month. But this was an amazing fight. I think Pereira, part of his issue in this fight was obviously the speed. I knew Khalil was fast. I didn't know he was that fast. Pereira, I think, also wasn't taking him that seriously. He opened up the fight with the same or relatively the same kick that he started versus Adesanya in their first fight in the UFC, where he won in the 5th round. It was that same type of lunging kick kind of. And it almost cost him because he ended up on the ground. He slipped or whatever. And if Khalil was a good wrestler, a good grappler, he could have jumped on top of Pereira and either try to finish the fight there or end the round there and get an easy first round, 10-9. But he didn't. Pereira also got caught. He was throwing some sort of lazy spinning kick, and he got caught for it. Pereira was kind of being, not super careful. I know that he's not that defensively responsible, but in this fight, he was really not responsible until the 3rd round. He started to switch up his game plan. He went back to the basics. His jab was what won him the fight. Because after that 3rd round, I think Khalil was up 2-0. After the 3rd, it was 2-1. And Khalil, he looked so tired in that 4th round. And Pereira put it on him in the 4th round, was able to stop him. Khalil almost made it to the end of the bell, but he just, he took as many shots as he possibly could have, I think it was actually the body shots that really hurt him. But regardless, amazing fight. Khalil, he proved me wrong. And yeah, getting on to the rest of the card. This was the people's main event. Pennington versus Pena. I'm not going to lie. I obviously, I bought the pay-per-view. I wasn't streaming it illegally or anything. But hypothetically, if I was, my stream happened to crash, unfortunately. Very unfortunate during this fight. So I missed the 1st round. And that's the controversial where it all comes down to. But the 2nd round and 3rd round, I was like, holy shit, Pennington is shit. It looked like that these WMMA fighters, they have no clue how to stuff a takedown, no clue get up ability, anything. And then the 4th round, she finally starts using her boxing, starts using the kicks, and I believe she dropped her bat in the 4th. She should have finished her. She should have let her up and then continued to fight. But of course, she's stupid. She goes to the ground, whatever. 5th round, rocks Pena again, clearly wins. The 2nd through 5th round, they were very easy to score. I missed the first, so people are saying that Pennington was robbed. I have no clue. Honestly, I don't mind Pena winning. Oh, by the way, I went 9 for 12 on my picks, So this was a, pretty good card for me. And I should have went 10 for 12 because this, might have been a robbery, but who knows. Anyway, Pena versus Harrison is the fight to make. Praying to God that Harrison wins. And once Harrison wins, they could either do Harrison versus Nunes or just leave it at that and then retire the division. That's what I want to see happen. Guys, we only have 2 to 3 more fights in this division until it's over. So, we should all be very thankful. Moving on, the fight of the night, Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. Hey, I did pick Bautista by 29-28 decision. And I know a lot of people are saying robbery. Look, I don't think it was a robbery. There's a lot of fights on here that the judges were awful though. I will say the judges were at an all-time bad on this card. But this was one of the fights where people were screaming robbery. I don't think that this was a robbery. I'm going to be honest, because it all comes down to the third, right? We all know that. It's all about the third. Yes, you could say, oh, Bautista, he only landed a few knees to the thigh. He did no real damage. He just had control time. Yes, that is true. But, for the first minute when it was on the feet, they both were about even. And then, yes, in the last 30 seconds when they finally, the refs were not having them hold, the refs were not having it with all the, not the cage grabs, but holding them against the fence, no damage. If only they did that with Merab versus Aldo. But Aldo, yes, he was throwing heat in the last 30 seconds, but he didn't land anything. None of those punches connected. So we can't score that. So unfortunately, Bautista, in my opinion, I think he won the fight. I don't think that was a robbery. And I knew that they were going to give it to Bautista. Everyone was like, oh, who won that? I don't know. It could be either way. I was like, no, they're going to give it to Bautista, obviously. It's unfortunate for Aldo. For elevation, his gas tank actually looked pretty good, shockingly. But yeah, it was a close fight. Maybe Bautista versus Sandhagen next. That's the fight that I said I want to see before this fight even took place. But yeah. Harrison versus Vieira. This was a fight. Again, I did buy the pay-per-view, but my stream just happened to crash during this fight, during the first round. So apparently Harrison won the first round on everyone's scorecard. I did see the first few minutes of that fight right before the takedown is when my stream crashed. And it was, kind of boring, I'm not going to lie. The first few minutes, but apparently Harrison got the takedown, did some damage, won the round. I missed the entire second round, which apparently was Ketlen's round. I did see the elbow on replay that had a giant knot in Harrison's forehead. It was, apparently that was a competitive round, and in the third round, Harrison just dominated. Ketlen, it looked like that Ketlen was okay with losing a decision. Because after the fight, she's smiling, all this stuff. It's like, bro, you didn't win a round. Like, there's nothing to smile about, But it looked like that she was happy. Like, yes, I didn't get finished. But, I was right, though, because I did pick Harrison, and I said the odds shouldn't be that close, and it was going to be somewhat more competitive. But still, I knew because Ketlen's a black belt in judo. She has a good ground game. But overall, kind of a boring fight. Moving on, another poor fight. Again, everything on the main card was a relatively bad fight until the main event. This fight was kind of a nothing fight. Again, my stream crashed. Stream East was absolutely horrendous last night. But Kevin Holland, I missed the first few minutes, and the only thing I saw was when Kevin Holland went for like an inside leg kick, and Dolidze caught it and took him down. And then Holland got some sort of weird injury, broke his rib, something like that. I don't know exactly. And then the corner calls the fight, which was good to see, but yeah, it was kind of a nothing fight. I'm not going to lie. This was one of the picks I got wrong. So, again, one of the picks I got wrong was the Pennington fight, arguable robbery. This fight, kind of a nothing fight that I got wrong. Never picking Kevin Holland again. Kevin Holland, they were glazing the hell out of Kevin Holland. And by they, I mean Joe Rogan. That's another issue. The commentators were horrendous. They were just absolutely despicable. I mean, you'd think that Kevin Holland is like, you'd think that he's, I don't even know, like, what, Adesanya, by the way they talk about his striking. Like, no, he's not that good. He's not that good of a fighter. He doesn't lose, even though this was a freakish injury, I'll give him that. He doesn't lose because, he just doesn't try. He loses because he's not good enough. He truly isn't good enough. And Dolidze, I don't care. He's not as bad as people say. But yeah, again, it was a nothing fight, whatever. Buckley versus Wonder Boy. Arguably the fight of the night. Well, no, actually, no, definitely not the fight of the night. But still a great fight. Outside of the main event, this was like the only fight that I genuinely like enjoyed. And I thought that this was going to be boring. I said Buckley's going to 29-28 him, kind of a boring decision wrestling. But Wonder Boy's takedown defense looked great. Buckley did not have the ability to keep him down on the ground. Wonder Boy would always get up. But on the feet, it was close. And, Wonder Boy, he won the first. Buckley won the second. And Buckley, he kind of just said, he just said, fuck it. And he just started throwing big, meaty hooks at Wonder Boy. Kind of like the Francis Ngannou knockout, where he's just throwing big, instead of like an uppercut, just big, meaty hooks. And he connected. He threw his entire body at him, and he knocked him out. It was insane. But again, outside of the main event, it's like, the best moment on the card is Wonder Boy getting slept. So yeah, it wasn't that good. Buckley, though, I do like Buckley, and he did have a good call out. I think he beats Kamaru Usman. I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't know if he's going to be an underdog. I think Kamaru Usman in the year 2025, which they're probably going to fight in, Usman is not taking Buckley down. He's not. And striking, I think Buckley has better striking. All Usman has is a jab and a right hand, but even his right hand is just powerful. It's nothing, crazy technique. But yeah, this was overall a very good fight. This is where the glazing went crazy. So I picked Lucindo because I thought that she looked like she was going to win. It's funny because if I would have watched the tape, I probably would have been like, Rodriguez, her takedown defense or sprawls, that jab is lethal. I just think that, she's really going to win, But I decided to do what everyone should do for WMMA. Do not watch tape. Do not watch tape. I did not watch tape, and I just looked at Lucindo, and I said, I think that she's going to win because she looks like that she's going to win. And I was correct. Now, again, I picked her. I do not think that she won the fight. I do think it was a robbery. So I'll be honest. The fact that Rogan and all of them were like, no. Rodriguez, she needs a finish. She needs a finish. In what fucking world? Rodriguez dropped her in the first. She dropped her bad. That wins her the round. The second round, Lucindo, I think that she wins. Again, Goddard stood him up for some weird reason, which was annoying, but whatever. The third round, yes, Lucindo ended the fight on top with a few strikes. But the problem is the judges, they always think, however the round ends, that's how the fight, that's how the fight should be scored. Bro, Lucindo did not win that third round. She did absolutely nothing. She failed a few takedowns. Didn't really have much control time. And Lucindo, her main problem is that she does nothing on the ground. She got stood up because she does absolutely nothing. She just lays and prays. Very annoying. Almost like an Aljamain Sterling without the submissions. And the fact that they were like, Lucindo, one thing about Lucindo is people forget, man, she's just a smart cookie. She's just smart. Smart? Bro, she got dropped in the first round because she was throwing big, meaty hooks. I mean, what the hell are you talking about? So this fight was a robbery. And complaining, though, because I got my pick right. But anyway. This fight. This was another fight where people were complaining and screaming robbery. Hot take. Pennington 30-27 isn't a bad scorecard. Hot take. Off of damage. The first round, she looked great. She was doing everything well. She somewhat hurt Esparza. And for the first half of the round, dominating the fight, clearly outstriking her until she got her initial takedown defense was good, but she just, after she would hurt Esparza, she would run into the pocket like a fucking idiot and immediately get taken down. I mean, every single time. And because of that, okay, I'll be fair. Even though based off of damage, there is an argument for Pennington round 1. I'll give Esparza the first round. Okay. The second round, I wasn't watching that close, but I did think that Pennington won the second round. Okay, so it's 1-1 into the third. The third round is the real controversial round, right? Well, I'm not going to lie. I thought Pennington clearly won. I was worried, though, because when I heard 30-27, I was like, fuck, they're going to give it to Esparza. But thank God. I don't even like Pennington. I just wanted my pick right. Pennington won that fight just like the other fight. Just because Esparza ended the fight on top for like 10 seconds does not win her the fight. Pennington was landing really good calf kicks the entire round, was clearly winning the round until, again, she got overconfident, gets taken down with 15 seconds, and Esparza was going for ground and pound. A lot of those shots missed, though. Still, it was not really a good fight, pretty bad fight. But moving on, Ryan Spann, OSP. Ryan Spann, first round finish, guillotine. He has a guillotine finish before Dustin Poirier. Let that sink in. Really good fight for as long as it lasted. One of the better fights, this fight needed finishes because it did not have a ton of finishes. And this was a good fight, OSP, like I said, he's chinny. Ryan Spann has a ton of power. OSP in the year 2024 doesn't have a ton of power. So I knew Ryan Spann was going to win. If you picked OSP, I don't know. Cesar Almeida versus Ihor. Man, this is where the reffing really got bad. And you could tell John Anik, he was so angry. He was like, I'm going to have to take off my headset. I think everyone was angry at this fight. 4 fucking eye pokes and no point. It was absolutely unbelievable. And then on top of that, you have them disengaging in the clinch after 5 seconds? And he did it 4 times. Bro, give him a break. Thankfully, I assume that that's going to be the ref's last assignment ever. Again, I have no clue how these people are able to become referees. That was just a joke of a fight. Almeida did look like the better fighter, but again, not an impressive performance. You couldn't finish him, and you cheated the entire fight. Not impressed in the slightest. And it was a relatively slow fight, so it wasn't even good. Tim Means versus Court McGhee. Again, first round finish. Good for Court McGhee. Hometown. Tim Means, I didn't even watch the post-fight interview. I assume he retired because it was such a pathetic performance. But regardless, okay fight. Hernandez, Hubbard. And actually, I will say this was a good fight. This was one of the few fights on the prelims that were entertaining. A lot of people were screaming robbery again. I thought Hernandez clearly won the first 2 rounds. I don't know how this was controversial, how this was a split decision. 30-27 Hubbard is crazy, though. Insane. Hernandez looked good. I picked him. I knew that he was going to be the better fighter. The only thing I was worried about is elevation and his gas tank, which was a problem in the third because he lost the third because of it. But still, I knew Hernandez was a better fighter. So yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty good card. I liked it. Actually, no, what the fuck am I talking about? This shit was ass. It was not a good card at all. I liked the main event. I liked the Hernandez-Hubbard fight. That was pretty good. The Ryan Spann finish was cool. The Buckley fight was good. And outside of that, it was a really bad card. One of the lesser cards of the year. If they did not have Pereira to save the card, this would have been the worst card maybe I've ever seen. Outside of that, Atlantic City card. But yeah, let me know what you thought of the card. Let me know what you thought of the main event. Who you think wins, Ankalaev, Pereira. But yeah, that is it for me. And yeah.